corner in the room. Helene had been surprised by the contrast in the style of clothes imposed by the organization. In the beginning, they had been forced to wear the niqab, through which only the eyes are visible. Later, they were forced to change into promo clothes for pictures and sale exhibitions. The photographer had asked Helene to wipe away her tears in order for him to take the picture. In other classrooms, members of the organization were using teachers' desks for paperwork to oversee the selection of boys for military training in the school's front yard. Where on Thursday mornings, teachers and students had once held the Iraqi flag-raising ceremony, the organization now raised their black flag and recited the pledge to the Islamic State instead of the national anthem. It had been 3 months since she'd been taken captive, and Helene had gradually come to understand the laws of this strange market. When a man took her to another classroom for his pleasure and returned her immediately after, it meant that he had taken her for temporary pleasure only, like a customer examining goods in the market. When one of them decided to buy her, he paid the organization an agreed-upon sum of money, in accordance with a purchase contract with a state's stamp on it. Helene's price started at $75 because she was in her 30s. Any buyer had the right to give her to another man in a rental contract and then take her back. He could also return her to the market or exchange her for another captive. One of Helene's previous buyers used to temporarily sell her whenever he needed money, then take her back. He finally brought her back to the market, saying, "This one screams in her sleep. Maybe there's a jinn inside her." About 120 women were crammed into the hall. You could tell which of the women had been raped most frequently by the number of bruises on their bodies. Some tried to hide behind each other, but the guards did not bypass any of them. At night, when the auction was closed, the guards came and took whomever they wanted for pleasure. They pushed the classroom desks aside and raped them in front of each other. Helene met other captives through the looks exchanged during these ordeals. They spoke with their eyes and communicated through tears. During a mass rape one afternoon, a captive shouted at the men, "Enough! Would you let someone fuck your mothers and sisters?" Right away, one of them threw her against the wall, leaving her unconscious. Another woman followed him, screaming incomprehensibly. She spat at him. Helene imitated her and spat at a man nearby. Another captive did the same. Every woman in that room spat on whomever she could in a campaign against the rapists. Shocked by the collective reaction, the men beat the women with all their might. But eventually the room fell quiet, and the men seemed exhausted from all the beating, and probably felt shame. They left the room one after the other, while the captives exchanged looks of encouragement, as if they were patting each other's shoulders, although that would hurt with all the bruises they now bore. Some of the women could not move for several days. After Arabic and Kurdish, silence was the captives' third language. The youngest among them, Layla, who was 10 years old, did not know any Arabic except for the word taftish, which she learned from the woman who entered the room and pronounced it, so that the captives lined up side by side for inspection. This woman checked the captives' clothes to make sure they didn't conceal any sharp objects. The number of inspections increased daily because suicide attempts among the captives had reached a point that had irritated members of the organization. Rihanna tried to hang herself with a rope she found in the corner of the hall. It had been the school's gym hall, and the rope was a jump rope. A female member of the organization ran over to Rihanna and was able to take the rope from her. She saved her life, then beat her with that same rope. She was the same inspector who, since the first week of captivity, had passed by the new captives one by one to ask, "Are you married?" and "When was the last time you had your period?" A captive had replied, "Why this question?" Another screamed, "Why?" And then a third, even louder, "Why?" The inspector stepped back and yelled at them, "Because our state's law prohibits the sale of pregnant women." Rihanna was supposed to be given for free to organization soldiers for the sake of domestic service only. This was according to the organization's code for those aged over 50. But the broken look with which she came back whenever she was taken and returned showed that the soldiers were breaking their